After leaving behind a trail of death and destruction in the Bahamas and along the Atlantic coast of the United States, Dorian is now moving into Canada, and the Atlantic provinces are beginning to feel its impact. Winds are already starting to lash at southwestern Nova Scotia, and heavy rain and storm surges are also a danger. That province may take the biggest hit, but New Brunswick, PEI and Newfoundland will also feel the storm's power. Well, Brett Ruskin is in Dartmouth with the latest on the hurricane preparations.
Well, at today's news conference, officials shared some of their concerns about this approaching storm. They said that some of the items that are out on the street or out on people's yards, whether it be garbage cans, construction cones, even basketball nets, could be blown around as the storm approaches and the winds intensify. They're advising people to stay off the roads, stay in their homes, and to stay safe. Now, we were down in Sambro, Nova Scotia, an area that has a voluntary evacuation notice right now, and many of the people there said that they were not going anywhere. In fact, some of them put ropes, old lobster fishing gear ropes, over top of their house to keep their shingles on their roof as the winds intensify. So once again, today, the winds are expected to get stronger, the rain is expected to pick up, and there is a storm surge warning as well, as Hurricane Dorian continues to approach, will eventually make landfall here in Nova Scotia. Brett Ruskin, CBC News, Halifax.
Let's stay in Halifax right now because the city's chief of emergency management is speaking about Hurricane Dorian. Let's take a listen.
Tweets, Facebook posts, citizens reporting down trees and things like that. We really want to encourage the citizens to please call 311. Although we are doing social media monitoring, it's very important that 311 takes the information so we can get it to the proper people. We still have crews on the road to clear trees as soon as possible, and we want to get those out of the way for the safety of our citizens and for the safety of our crews that are on the road. But it is critical to call 311. We're also, again, urging the businesses downtown Halifax and the construction companies to please clean up their debris if they can. We're very concerned about the safety, again, of our citizens, about that debris flying, which it will, between 140 and 150 km/h winds that we are expecting. And again, we want people to stay inside. We've also seen social media that there are people on the rocks at Peggy's Cove and on the shore. Those waves are coming in, and we're seeing, video feeds of children standing by the water, and it is very, very dangerous, and we are very concerned for the safety of these people that are out there at this time right now. Does anybody have any questions?
So you were speaking for the city, and so you are the spokesperson for everybody now?
For HRM, yes. Yeah.
You say you received complaint?
Yes.
How many?
About trees down right now, it's hard to say because we're trying to pick them out of social media, but then our call center will log all of them, so 311, and they will capture everyone. So I don't know the number right now, but we can get that information back to you shortly as soon as I go upstairs if you do require it. But we are capturing everyone, and it's, as you notice, the wind is starting to pick up here, so we are expecting that is going to increase very significantly shortly.
How do you see the next hours?
I expect the next hours that, McKay Bridge has now been closed to high-sided vehicles. So that happens usually with winds over 80 km/h. The bridges will close, as I said, the McKay Bridge. So we know that that's going to increase and the winds are going to increase, and we're going to have both bridges closed. We know that that's going to happen when they do hit over 100 km/h. And we want people to be safe inside. So we really want people to stay away from the water, stay inside.
I don't know if you're hearing about that, but it seems to be kind of an evacuation in the region of Peggy's Cove right now. Or they are simply just evacuate people. Do you hear anything about that?
Actually, I did not know that, but I will go back upstairs. We do have an RCMP member in our Emergency Operations Center, so I will go get an update on that.
Is there any evacuation yet?
So we have asked people to self-evacuate, and we are looking at closing the roads to Peggy's Cove and Lawrencetown. And we were just discussing that before I came downstairs.
But nobody self-evacuated yet?
No.
How many city crews are out there?
We have crews both east and west, and their operations center is up and running as well as their members are upstairs in our emergency operations center. So I don't have the exact numbers that are out right now, but they've just been in and out all morning, just trying to react as quick as they can to the issues out there. So right now, the bucket trucks are already called in, so there will be no bucket trucks going back out on the road. So now it's just manual crews. So if a tree is down, like across a road, they will go out and remove it, if it's safe to do so, if there's no down power lines with it. And at that point, they'll make a risk assessment on every case, but we will, looking at the window side now, we'll go back upstairs and have that discussion. The crews will not go out if it's not safe to do so. We have not had any numbers come back from the Red Cross on that yet. Anybody else? No? Okay, you're welcome.
I have a question as well.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So you did say that flying, and I know that flying debris is such an issue right now, that it is a threat. Is it also a threat to the electricity lines? Because a lot of people are losing electricity at the moment.
Yes, that is definitely a threat. Sorry, that is definitely a threat to electricity. So what'll happen is some of the debris that's laying around are lumber, ladders, and normal household debris like a basketball net, lawn furniture, and if that hits a power line, it will have effects. So that's why we've been stressing, that is one of the reasons why we've been stressing to the public that you really need to take that stuff inside and be very serious about securing your belongings around your households.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody.
And we have been listening to emergency officials in Halifax giving us an update right now on the preparations that are currently underway as Hurricane Dorian turns its way up the Atlantic. Now, the outer bands of that storm already being felt, and officials say it will get worse as the day goes on. The full force of that storm will be felt by this evening. And right now, we just heard it from the manager of emergency management. She says that the McKay Bridge has already been shut down to high-sided vehicles. She also expects that both bridges, both the McKay and McDonald bridges, will be shut down as the storm approaches and makes its force known. We are tracking that for you right now here on CBC News Network, so do stay with us throughout the day for the latest information. But right now, let us shift from Nova Scotia to Prince Edward Island. That is where we find Jay Scotland, CBC meteorologist. He who is watching Dorian's progress up the Atlantic coast from his post in Charlottetown. So Jay, good to see you. But talk to us about the situation around you right now in PEI.
Yes, I wish I was joining you under better circumstances, Michael. Already we're starting here on PEI to see some of the heavier rain working in. Winds over the last 2 hours have been steadily increasing, and we are watching for, with a tropical storm warning in place across all 3 counties, across the entire island, hurricane watch for our easternmost county, Kings County. We are watching for some very powerful winds and extremely heavy rain to continue to build in over the next few hours. Now, the worst of the weather for folks here on PEI will come later today. We'll continue to see the winds and the rain ramping up through the afternoon. Into the evening hours, though, as that storm is making landfall as Category 1, a strong Category 1 storm near the Halifax area, that is when we'll start to see the core of strong winds arriving on PEI. And by late this evening, and as we head into the overnight hours tonight, that is where we could see winds widespread across the island, sustained over 63 kilometers per hour. That would be a tropical storm force wind across the entire island for a sustained wind. Gusts anywhere from 90 for coastal areas, even inland areas up over 100, but approaching 120 kilometers per hour. And then in eastern parts of the island, there is the risk for even hurricane strength winds as Dorian is crossing very near or over eastern PEI late this evening. The strong winds around the center of that storm will still likely be hurricane strength. That would be sustained winds of around 120 kilometers per hour or higher. And there is the potential to see gusts beyond that over eastern areas. So heavy rain, strong winds, outages, both coastal flooding with storm surge warnings in place, as well as inland flooding with that heavy rain, a possibility, especially in low-lying areas here on PEI over the next 24 hours.
And certainly a concern that's already being expressed not only about flooding, but also about flying debris. So people are being told to bring things into their homes, to batten things down, to make sure that they don't get caught up in the wind. We have a fairly good sense, Jay, of what's happening in Nova Scotia because we've been able to get 2 updates from officials on the ground there already today. You're giving us the update for PEI, but give us a bigger picture here. Talk to us about the Atlantic region in totality. What is likely to happen in Dorian's path?
Yeah, as these storms tend to move to higher latitudes, they become very large systems, and that is why we're looking at not just tropical storm warnings here on PEI and a hurricane warning in effect for much of Nova Scotia, but we are looking at tropical storm force warnings across a large swath of eastern New Brunswick. In fact, all of New Brunswick is under at least some form of advisory due to this storm. Winds there, tropical storm force over the eastern parts of the province. Gusts for coastal areas along the Gulf could top 100 kilometers per hour, and very heavy rain, not just here on PEI and Nova Scotia. Now, Nova Scotia could see amounts locally well over 150 millimeters, but we could see amounts on New Brunswick exceeding 100 millimeters as well, as western PEI could see areas reach that 100 millimeter mark. So it is heavy rain across all three maritime provinces and tropical storm force winds. And just a heads up for viewers that may be watching in Newfoundland, you do have hurricane watch, or hurricane warning, sorry, in effect along the western shores, the western coast of Newfoundland, down the Great Northern Peninsula to the Port aux Basques area and along parts of the south coast as well. And you'll start to feel the first of the raindrops from Dorian. It is such a large storm late this afternoon into the evening hours, but overnight into Sunday morning, that is when the core of strong winds will start to approach western Newfoundland, and those winds are going to be really roaring across certainly the Port aux Basques, the Wreck House area, and into western Newfoundland as this storm exits the Maritimes and works its way to your neck of the woods.